There was a moment when it looked like Spider-Man's biggest movie debut might never happen,
Oh boy, yeah.
and a video game sequel to a well-accepted Spider-Man game
Surf the web, surf the web.
Shut up, Brock. We don't have time.
would be either delayed or cancelled. Now, it was not because the movie nor the game was bad, far from it. And it also wasn't because Sony lost faith in it and decided to cancel the project. And Activision decided the game wasn't worth it. None of these reasons are why the fate of these projects wasn't sealed. The actual reason was one of the biggest tragedies in modern history that changed everything overnight.
At this early stage, we believe that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center in New York.
After the September 11th attack in 2001, Hollywood suddenly found itself in a completely different world. Movies, TV shows, and even video games that featured the Twin Towers were being delayed, edited, or completely reworked out of respect for what had happened on that fateful day. And our webhead, being a New York-based superhero, got caught in the wave of the whole situation, leading to two massive projects being put on hold. Now today we will look into the events that led up to this and how Spider-Man almost got cancelled because of 9/11. The trailer that disappeared overnight. Months before Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie hit theaters, Sony released what quickly became one of the most talked about movie trailers of the year. It opened with a group of bank robbers escaping in a helicopter. As they flew away, something unexpected happened. The helicopter suddenly stopped in mid-air, and then the camera pulled back and revealed it had been caught in a giant spider web stretched right in the middle between the Twin Towers. And then Spider-Man appeared. It was a clever way to introduce the character, and the audiences loved it. But after 9/11 happened, that trailer disappeared almost immediately, as if it never existed. Sony pulled it from the theaters, television, and the internet. The company also removed posters and promotional material featuring the World Trade Center, realizing they could no longer market the movie the same way after such a devastating event. And the movie had to change too. The trailer wasn't the only thing affected. Several shots throughout the movie that clearly featured the Twin Towers were either removed, shortened, or digitally altered before the film's release in May of 2002. These weren't major story changes, but they reflected how sensitive the situation had become. For a movie set in New York City, removing one of its most recognizable landmarks wasn't easy at all. The Twin Towers had always been part of the city's skyline, but for audiences in 2000, seeing them on screen carried a completely different vibe, and it just felt wrong to see it because they were constantly reminded of the tragedy that happened on September 11th. So Sony decided it was better to quietly edit the movie rather than remind viewers of a tragedy that was still painfully fresh. Even the video game wasn't safe. The effects of 9/11 didn't stop with the Sam Raimi's movie. They've reached Spider-Man video games too. Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro released for the original PlayStation, and it was already finished and ready to launch. There was just one problem. The game's final level took place on top of the Twin Towers. Players fought Electro while jumping between the towers before stopping his plan. Now, of course, you can see why this would be bad after the attacks. So after September 11th, Activision delayed the game's release and were forced to quickly make changes to not disrespect the events that unfolded that day, making this the second massive Spider-Man project that got delayed in the same year. Now, what happened with the game? Well, to begin with, the Twin Towers were replaced with a generic skyscraper. Dialogue referencing the World Trade Center was removed, and parts of the ending were reworked before the game finally reached the shelves. Now, it wasn't really because the level was trying to be offensive. It was just made before the tragedy happened, and nobody, and I don't mean just Activision, could have seen 9/11 coming. So once the attacks happened, the final level simply wasn't something players or the developers themselves felt comfortable experiencing only weeks after the attacks on New York. Looking back, it's incredible how close Spider-Man came to having a completely different launch in the two most famous medias, movies and video games. Its most famous trailer disappeared, its promotional campaign had to be redesigned, parts of the movie were edited, and its video game was delayed and altered having to rework the whole finale. And yet, despite all of that, Spider-Man still became one of the biggest superhero movies of all time, and the video game sold roughly 1.5 million copies, making it a solid commercial success. When the movie finally released in 2002, it broke opening weekend records and helped prove that comic book movies could become blockbuster events. And it's so strange to think that a real-world tragedy almost reshaped the beginning of one of the most important superhero franchises in movie history. Most fans remember Spider-Man for the Green Goblin, the upside-down kiss, and the whole "with great power comes great responsibility" motto. But behind the scenes, there's another story, one where history forced Marvel's biggest hero to change before audiences ever got the chance to meet him. 25 years later, we're awaiting a new Spider-Man movie that comes out next week, while the tragedy that happened on September 11th is still remembered. Thank you for watching.